All right. Welcome to the Penergy Lifestyle Engine Room, where we dive deep into all things health and wellness. Today's guest joining me is a good friend, Mick Jessop. He's a man who inspired me to look a little bit deeper within myself and a shining example of what it means to be a great, loving husband, father of 5 beautiful kids, compassionately known as the family of the tribe that travel. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. He's a leader within the community, and he's helping people all around the world. He's had his own struggles in life, and he's joined me here today so we could have a chat a bit about some of the things he's been through and the things that have enabled him to grow as not just as an individual but also as a father and a husband. So thanks for joining me, man. Thanks for being here. I really appreciate it.
Oh man, thank you. Thanks for having me. I was just actually looking at myself, admiring my own mode there, man. Like you spoke about it earlier. It's rather thick. It's like a broom or something. It's like an old school hard brushed broom.
I thought you was one of the old '90s cricket players coming on to do an interview. I wasn't sure, but no, you've got some class there, mate.
I've had that, and I've had that, and I've also had like '70s porn star. I get that thrown out there a fair bit as well, man.
That's the classic one, the old '70s porn star. So just if you can, like, tell us a little bit about. I want to start because to me it's been something that's been very important is men's mental health, and it's been something that's come up a lot in the last sort of maybe 5-10 years. It's come up a lot more with being, just the communication about being able to express more and talk more, and because men do have highest rates of suicide and do struggle with expressing their emotions. And I know for you went through some real darkness with depression and anxiousness and that side of the black dog that is depression. So I wonder if you just share a little bit of your story in regards to that part of your life where you went through those struggles.
Yeah, man. I'll touch base, I guess, on that, but I suppose I'll start with everything that I sort of set out to do as a young fellow, like with sport, anything like that. I was always sort of a high achiever. I would try and outwork anyone in every field that I was in. It was just I don't know how that was ingrained, but it was there from an early age. I remember, I guess, with all sports and anything, I was always, like I said, trying to be the best, or then that sort of flowed on with school. Even though I left school in year 9, man. Like I left early. I was like, this isn't for me, and it was really because I just maybe I had a thorn in my side or what it was, but I was just like, I don't need to be here. I need to be doing something else. So I got into the workforce really early, found out how hard that was straight off the bat. It certainly wasn't easy. But from that point, I was always trying to achieve, I guess, the highest level of anything that I was doing. I was always trying to be the best version of me.
Yeah.
And I know this is what actually rattled people when I actually delved and dived into that darkness, was because I was completely rattled by what had happened, by shaking my foundations, but it was the people around me that were so affected by it being me that was taken sort of by the black dog so quickly.
But and just to touch on quickly, because when you talk about that, you were actually hospitalized several times, were you not?
Yeah, mate. Yeah. So I'll touch on that, man, but I was essentially, I'd owned a couple of supplement stores, owned a functional fitness gym. I was about to open a Gold's gym. I was working in the mines. We had our third baby on the way. So like we had so much on the plate. And then I actually had a work injury where I crushed my hand in the coal mines. My work crew were always known to be the guys that get the job done. And this job kept getting put off. And then they're like, we need this done. And I grabbed my boys and we went and done this job, and I ended up having a slab of coal, pretty much, I guess, ringed a drill steel and came down. The boys jumped back and I was still stuck on the drill rig, and it smashed my hand to pieces. But it just, that pinnacle moment like that completely shifted everything for me, because I was so busy in everything that I was doing that I was probably not taking the best care of myself. Even though physically I was taking care of myself, I was physically looking sharp and I was strong and I had all this stuff happening. But that pinnacle moment where everything shifted, because everything just stopped like that, was over. You can't go to work, you can't train, you can't pick up your kids. You can't do all these little things that don't seem like big things at the time, but they are a big thing in the big scheme of things.
Well, I resonate with that massively because obviously breaking my neck this year was definitely a stimulation such as that, where you really start to appreciate the little things that
Yeah,
you can do. Yeah.
yeah. I just got goosebumps then, man, when you said that. But yeah, so that was really the turning point for me, and it sort of progressively happened. Like I was sort of, I guess, through my rehabilitation, because it only ended up being my finger, but I had to have microsurgery. But then just that not being able to do anything was really, and the whole not going to work, like that loss of routine, because I believe throughout everything, routine becomes super, super important for mental health. And that was something that happened along the track. I started realizing, that was pretty much the, I guess, the pinnacle thing that pulled me out of the hole, was that starting of just simple things too, like a nice clean meal in the morning, and just routine of that. I'm going to get up and I'm going to start looking after myself, because we dive into that hole where our self-care just goes to pieces, and that was the end. But yeah, I was institutionalized 4 times, hospitalized 4 times over like 18 months. The hole was deep, man, and it was a very big climb out. But I essentially just had this, I was just so stuck, I think, in not being able to move past where I was at, and I was just consumed by anxiety, and I totally feel that anxiety is actually the one that rattles you the most, even more so than depression. Depression is obviously a low, and you'll still have your ups and downs within that low, but the anxiety completely consumes you, and you feel it like you can't turn off your mind, and you feel it in your stomach, you feel it in your heart. You just like this constant tension there. And but yeah, man, the depths were very deep and very dark. And I guess that, like I said, that went on for an 18-month period. And it wasn't until I think I had a moment where I was just waking up on a daily basis, just thinking, this isn't changing. Nothing's actually changing. And if nothing changes, nothing changes, essentially. And I feel that I actually woke up one morning and just thought, I need to change this. Like, I need to actually put something in place that's going to sort of break down my day to day, and my day to day was really just waking up, being super anxious, not wanting to go anywhere, and then just trying to sleep my life away. That's what it got to, which was horrible.
Yeah, I resonate with that a lot, because I think the thing that really captured my mind in regards to understanding depression when I was going through it was the fact that the darkest part about it is that you sort of feel like, or for me, that I didn't want to bother other people with my problems or what I was dealing with. So in doing that, I locked myself away. And then when you isolate yourself and you don't have any connection with anyone, and I didn't, because I basically socially isolated myself for 2 years when I was trying to break free from drug and alcohol addiction and to remove myself from influence. When I did that, the first 6 months or so was great, because I'm like, got this new new reality, and I'm breaking free and I'm feeling good. But then I had this loss of transfer of energy with people and interactions like that are good influences in your life. And then, like what you're talking about, the anxiousness, like I was lucky I bought a house and I was renovating and I was busy, but I become this like hermit. And I got to the point where I spent a lot of my 20s traveling the world solo. So I don't have a problem meeting people. But got to the point where I was like, felt weird, like even trying to talk to people, and anxious around being around people. And it was like being in a body that didn't suit who I knew I was. It was like, it was crazy, hey?
Yeah, man. And like you having that zest for life, that alone would have been super, super in your head then, like nearly like a paranoia of like, because for me, like you saying that then just hit home for me, man, because it was nearly like an out of body experience. Like that was my pinnacle moment. I remember a moment walking into Woolworths, and I've always been like I was saying, man, like I'm always out there and trying to lift people up. And that's what rattled so many other people, because I was so down that they were like, what has actually happened? And we tried to keep this under wraps, man. My kids didn't know about this. Like I was in hospital, and my wife was saying, oh, Dad's working at this place, he's got to stay there, and my kids are coming and I'm giving them cuddles. And meanwhile, I'm thinking I'm going to die, and, like this crazy shit, man. But it was just that, I guess, I was so overly consumed by anything that it just rattled me. But I remember this moment walking into Woolworths, and like a huge part of anxiety, or like I guess a key element to it that signifies something's not right, is this sensitivity to light. And I remember walking into Woolworths and like the lights are flickering, and then it sort of scattered my brain a bit, and I started this massive anxiety attack where I was like freaking out walking around Woolworths, and I was like,
Yeah.
that was like a real moment for me to go, whoa, something is really not right here. Like something's not right. And that was probably, wouldn't have been long after that, the first time I went into hospital. And when I went in, this is how crazy things are, man. You go in, like I remember going in, I'm holding my mum who's crying while I'm getting put into hospital.
Yeah.
And like I could just see her, how rattled she was from her son going in there, So that then ended up being, I guess, the catalyst point for me to get to a point where I knew that I could get better.
Yeah.
That very moment, man, I knew that I will get better, but it's going to be a time frame.
Yeah.
But I was in that hospital, man, and Beck would rock up, and the nurses are like, "Oh, Mick's great. Like he's helping all our guys." And Beck's just like, "Can someone fucking help him? Like he's the one who needs the help, like." But it's
Yeah.
so crazy, man. Like I was chatting to these. It's crazy. Like I was actually crazy, but you know, I'm chatting to psychologists, and for me, like we've spoken about this before, mate, it felt like they were just ticking the box, Whereas for me, I'd be in there talking to these people and really delving into their stories, and we're trying to break down, little bits and pieces about them. And I'm like, no, that's just not right. Like, you're a beautiful person, like, and then we're trying to delve in. And I think that's why I've become so open and honest about my journey, because the amount of people that you can help when you are storytelling and you're genuinely empathic on what's going on in their life, because not that we may have been empathetic with things earlier, but now that we've been through it, we genuinely are, because we
Yeah.
know how dark and deep it can get. It's horrible.
Yeah, well, and I just want to touch on what you said there, because we spoke about it just before jumping on this, about counselors and psychiatrists, and whilst they do play an amazing role within the community, the one thing that we've really resonated with in regards to being able to grow is the fact that there is a huge transfer between someone when you speak to someone and they've experienced it and they
Yeah.
understand emotionally how you feel and what you're going through, versus someone who's theoretically learnt what it's meant to feel like. And there's a big difference in that. And that's one of the big reasons why both of us are doing such things as podcasts like this and reaching out to people, is because we know the big difference between connecting with someone on an energetic level and being able to connect. And it's a very primitive style of communication. As well, we used to be in tribes. We used to have tribes of people that we felt comfortable around. We learned from our elders because they had the experience and they shared their knowledge with us. And that's basically the premise of what we're trying to do now. Lloyd, thank you for sharing, obviously, some of what you've been through and the journey. But right now, when we met at the brewery.
Fremantle.
Yeah, in Brio, famous. I was living in Perth. What am I doing?
I've had a mental blank too, mate. My mate worked there too.
What's going on? Oh, no, it's not the most famous brewery in Perth. What are we doing? Anyway, that's irrelevant. We met at the brewery there. Well, it'll come to us soon. Yeah. I was there with Pierre and Solana, and you were there with the kids. And actually, I think you said you noticed, because I was over in the park mucking around on the kids stuff with Solana, and I did notice you guys out there. And then we actually just found each other in the pub and ended up having a chat and clicking like this because we shared each other's story. But you guys, we became mates very, very quickly, and I followed a lot of your guys' story. As I mentioned in the intro, the Tribe That Travel, you guys were in a bus cruising around Australia and having a ball, and living a very, very different life to where you had been, and the experience, obviously, that you'd had and what you've been through. Obviously, you went through hospitalization and you come out of that, but tell me a bit about that part of your life where you had got on top of it. You were past, the darkness of it, and tell us a bit about you know, I know that physically you've all, as you said, you've owned gyms, supplement store, so physically you've always been active, and we share something very similar, and that's been a huge pillar of my life in regards to dealing with mental health, and it's been a huge coping mechanism before I understood it was a coping mechanism. But as we know, you need more than one thing to put a puzzle together. There's many pieces
Yeah.
to the puzzle. So tell me a bit more about where you're at now and what took you to get there, and then we can touch a bit on, you know, one of the reasons that we're doing this as well is because, you know, we're connected through some health and wellness products and an awesome community that is really changing a lot of lives. And it's you know, I'm you know, my life is completely turned around in regards to my health, in regards to, you know, meeting you and what we're doing. So yeah, just give us a little bit of info and background on what you know, your little journey from, you know, being out of that dark place to where you are now, and what you're doing with your life now.
Yeah, man. Cheers, brother. You know, it's coming from that, you know, where your foundations are completely rattled, to thinking that you're genuinely not going to be here anymore because you know, you feel like taking your own life will be the answer because you're burdening people, you know, to where I am now. I just got the biggest goosebumps, man. Like, it just takes me on a journey, you know, in my head right now, just thinking about it, because to be where I was there to now just seems so far apart, you know. It's just an insane feeling, you know. But essentially, after getting on top of where I was at mentally, I got back into the grind of things, you know. So it was pretty much, I was eating good, I was training again, and that you know, like I said, I think that becomes the pinnacle thing, you know, routine, and that routine of doing that again completely got me back on track, you know, eating well, training, work, which is
Yeah,
crazy, work, just working, keeping
yeah,
my head space here. I've got to do this job. Boom, that's it. Come home, family time, everything was good. So I essentially went back into the mines, then started chasing the money again, as you do when you think that that's the be all and end all. So I went into the tunnels, and I was on really big money, but really big hours. So, which cemented in my mind, that was another pinnacle moment: time over money. I was on ridiculous money, but I had no time. And so I ended up going into the tunnels and was doing these crazy hours. And then essentially, Beck, I started looking from the outside in, and Beck was starting to struggle,
yeah,
headspace. And it was crazy, man. She was like, I'm going to have to get on antidepressants. I'm going to have to get on something. I'm just feeling super flat. And I was like, oh man, like I just felt like it was going to go full circle again. I just had this anxiety started building up again. And like I said, I was feeling amazing because of what I was doing for myself, but I could see it was taking away from Beck by me being away so much with work. So she'd been to the doctors. She was about teeing up to start, you know, some antidepressants and start trying to get a headspace in a better place again. And we stumbled across some people that we'd been following with their travels, because we were always going to travel. You know, I was on this money for a reason. We we're doing it for a reason. We wanted to travel. We wanted to, you know, be together as a family again, like wholly. And yeah, we're sort of watching what they're doing. And anyway, they were always up and at 'em, and they were just like this beautiful energy. And we're like, okay, cool. So anyway, Beck was just touching base with Robbie, our friend, and she's like, I think our system, what we're using, would be amazing for you. I think it would help you, you know.
yeah,
And I was like, oh, here we go. I was like, it's just another one of these things, you know. But when I'm like, Beck, I know supplements. I've owned supplement stores. I'm a PT, you know. I've been training people for years. I've owned functional gyms. I've done bodybuilding style training. I've done everything, you know. And she's like, well, I'm trying it. And I'm like, nah, it's rubbish. So it was about 2 months, man, took us before she jumped on board. And she ended up jumping on the system, man. And I ate my words, like ate them heavily. And she holds that over me forever, and she will forever too, man. But I was away at work, man. I was away at work. I came home, and not even so within that week, it's really hard to have a physical shift within a week, right? But I could see a physical shift. but it wasn't that, man. It was the energy. Like I walked into the house, it was calmer because that was the biggest thing, man. Like she was finding herself being more snappy with the kids, like just struggling with her energy. And I walked into the house, man, and it was honestly, I walked in and I could feel it. She's like, "Hey, babe," and I was like, "What's happening?"
Yeah, what's
Nothing,
going on?
like, it was weird. It was crazy. And she'd just come off a double cleanse, which you know all about, Troy. So she was sharp as a tack. Like she's just feeling sharp, man. So she's 5 days in. Anyway, so I was still skeptical, super skeptical, man, hung on to that skepticism. But I said to myself, 3 months, I'm going to see if this placebo. But man, honestly, 2 months later, I'm going to have a crack at this. Going back to where I was at, I was eating good. I was training the house down. I was away from home 7 days a week. So I could do eat, train, sleep, repeat. That was me for 7 days.
Yeah,
And honestly, man, I was like, how is this going to actually help me? Jumped on the system, man, game changer. Within a
yeah,
week, same thing, 5 days, boom, holy hell, like crazy, crazy. So moving forward from that, we were loving how we were feeling in ourselves. We really got ourselves back. Like our energy was back. We were feeling amazing as a whole. And then it came around to the time for us to leave, man, to start traveling.
yeah,
And we packed up. I ended up buying this bus. We decked out this bus, man, which it's a home on wheels, a 40-foot schoolie essentially that we
yeah.
really, we bought it. It was semi-done. And so it had a queen bed at the back. It had a shower. It had a kitchenette. It was for an older couple, and they just used it to sort of cruise around sporadically. And so when I got it, we actually had Luke and Robbie, so who helped Beck kick off on the system. They came down. Lukey's a chippy as well, so that was
Oh,
super
yeah,
handy.
perfect. Yeah,
So I'm in the tunnels. I'd come home. We'd get stuck into the bus, and we made it what it was. A bus that could handle 6 of us.
yeah,
And yeah, like amazing journey, but also me seeing what type of people Luke and Robbie were, like this positive, beautiful people that would come down and help us, even though we've only just met them.
yeah,
It's sort of like, wow, this is super cool. And then obviously, about our Wellness Co page, man, like the community that we have in that alone is just to be surrounded by people where, and I get this, and I know you get this too, because no doubt you've been that person in the workforce that's uplifting and you're trying to help people. And what essentially happens when you're doing that, there's a cup, there's their cup and there's your cup, and you're filling their cup, but you're draining yours. And when you're constantly that person that's doing that, essentially you gas yourself out.
yeah,
And when you're a part of a community that is so uplifting that you're constantly getting picked up, it elevates you and you actually become a better person. And that's just a snippet of what we have,
yeah,
So, man, and now what's it been? So that was 18 months ago, man, that we left,
yeah,
and we left with this lump sum of money thinking, oh, this is going to last us. And we just blasted through that in 5 months. So that was insane, but
yeah,
we had the most amazing time ever. And then obviously, moving forward from that, our health and wellness businesses just sort of completely helped us out,
yeah,
essentially, and helps us live the life that we live now. And if I decide I want to go back to something like that, I can,
yeah.
but I don't have to. It's not a line in the sand. You have to go back anymore.
You've given yourself options. You know what I mean? And
Choices. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, and it's clear that you can see how much how content you are with the simple things in life. You know what I mean? And I think that like it's because when I met you, it was just cool connection, good dude. Like I knew we would be mates, and I honestly didn't think about even. I don't even think you mentioned it, to be honest with you. But as I followed some of the stuff you're doing, I've seen that you may have, but that had nothing to do with our interaction. And I was like,
Yeah.
I'd used other health products and stuff before because, like you, I'm a PT. I've trained people. I've spent 20 years of my life in sort of the bodybuilding type style of living in regards to the meals I eat and the supplements I take. And I was like, same thing. I'm like, oh, I've done a couple of these before. But then I was like, you know what? Like this guy's, he looks good, he feels good, he's spreading all this love and connecting with people. I was like, what have I got to lose? You know what I mean? And I know the thing was though, the thing that sort of sold me was the cleanses, because I'd previously done like water fasting and things like that. And when I learned the science behind the cleansing in regards to, the cell regeneration and flushing out environmental toxins, but also giving your body what it needs to repair whilst doing the cleanse, I was like, that's something that I want to give a go anyway, because I'm doing things like that anyway. And yeah, that like I do now. We do it every fortnight, every 14 days. We do a 48-hour cleanse, like essentially 2 days, and like I love it. I love it. And but I'm also I love the it's crazy because the shakes, like all the flavors and that is. I remember like in the early days, in the early 2000s, when I was getting proteins and stuff, and the proteins are disgusting, man. Like it's like, well, I'm trying to force it down, and then like so it's just like everything is really amazing. So I've been pretty blessed, but it's just a cool community. And it's funny thing is, like, obviously I've connected with people overseas, like in the UK and obviously here in the US and back home, but even people that I met that are actually already within the company and have reached out and gone, I've been on it for 2 years. I feel great. I use it every morning. So it's cool, man. So it's a really good vibe.
It's a funny thing, man. Like it's sort of, I think there's so many misconceptions around it. People are like, oh, how can you, a big one that we always get, how do you survive on shakes? And I'm like, I don't. Like, if you see me eat pizza, like that's not a shake, or like it's all about balance, man. And like we've spoken about before, man, there's never ever a quick fix pill. There isn't, but there's lifestyle choices, and people are like, is it a diet? And I'm like, it really isn't a diet. It's just a really super simple system that one, you're being nourished. Vitamin and minerals in the shakes is second to none. It's phenomenal. The whey protein is phenomenal. Grass-fed cattle, we've spoken about that as well before, and then, the ionics, which is phenomenal for balancing our stress levels. And once we get that in check, once we get our stress levels in check, game changer, man. And then obviously the fasting or the cleansing side of it, people fast, people that have, I guess, been around training and they understand the concepts of what stress does to our bodies, they understand that fasting can be like a double-edged sword. You can fast for the calorie deficit, but if your body's stressed, you're going to hang on to body fat because your body, that's just the natural occurrence.
Fight or flight.
Yeah, man. And obviously with the cleanse, working on, your botanicals, your trace minerals, and your adaptogens, then it's obviously helping those stress hormones through that, so there's so many little things that are in there. Like, and I've seen you touched on the collagen the other day. That's phenomenal, man. Like that's another level,
it's awesome like that, because I only just got my order come in, and that's I'd seen that on there. I was like, I'm learning a bit of other different things that are good in the body and how it repairs, and I was like, because I've always loved bone broth, disregarding that I just got this and it's a broth, because that was the thing, of broth, collagen. I'm like, this is ticking all the boxes, but it's I have one every day, man. It's like, it's delicious. I got my little thermo coffee cup, and that's like throughout the day, it's like a little soup, man. I love it.
I was talking to Lukey about it the other day. He does as well. I have them on my cleanse days because it's just epic to have on it. But it's also, he's like, it takes him back to home, sitting at home having a cup of soup with his parents. So he sits there and has his little cuppa in the arvo. It's cool, man. It is. It's a super, super cool thing. But no, like I said, man, it's been to look on a scale of where I was to where I feel I am now, not only just physically, but, headspace wise and as a whole, it's not even comparative, like I couldn't have thought that this is the moment. This is a strange part of it. Where I was then, I could never have thought that I would be here now. And where I am now, I could never have thought that I was where I was then, and that's a strange feeling, because and that's the beauty of sharing stories, man, and letting people know that there is light at the end of the tunnel, like if we can just keep putting one foot in front of the other. And this was something that I guess really struggled with when I was PTing people. I'd never been as low as I had been at that point in my life. And I would be like, come on, guys, get up in the morning, put a smile on your face and get stuck into it, you know? And some of these people now that if I spoke to them, it would be a totally different conversation, you know, because I know now that if you can get to a point where you can just keep putting one foot in front of the other, you know, you'll 100% walk out of that dark and you'll walk into some light, man. And that's all we need. But yeah, man, it's a crazy journey, and that's our life, man. You know, like not one other human on the planet is going to walk the same step, the same path that we walk. You know, this conversation can never be had again. It's done, you know, like, and that's what I think people need to understand. You know, we're so unique that we're going to walk a separate path. We're going to walk different things, but you can keep connecting with people and just create this amazing energy. And I think that's what happened with us. We walked in and it was like this just explode. Like, you know, you just the chick behind the bar was spinning out, wasn't she? She was like
that's
full
right.
wigging out, man. She's like, I've told these guys, they're all like, no, these guys are like brothers or something. And she's like, I seen this go down. Like these guys just walked in. They're two different families, and there's just like this energy.
That's right.
And we were like, we felt it anyway. We felt it, but it's crazy that other people could see it. You know, so super, super cool, man.
Yeah, no, it's cool. Well, it's been an awesome, you know, journey. It's been great connecting with you. I really appreciate you coming on today, and obviously just good to catch up with you about sharing your story too, man. It's pretty powerful, as you said, to be able to share these experiences and these stories, because you know there's a lot of people out there that will relate with your experience, my experience, and that's what they need to know. They're not the only one having that experience, and that there is light at the end of the tunnel. So I really appreciate everything you do out in the community for everyone, and you're just a solid dude, man. And I appreciate you a lot.
Oh man, thank you, brother. And like, same. Like you know, you always say I'm super grateful, man, but I can't even, you know, put into words how grateful I am for meeting you and Pia. You know, it was just like it was a beautiful thing, and and like straight up, man, like some of the stuff you're putting out there, I'm just like, wow, this dude just gets it, and it's so nice to be, you know, vibing on the same frequency with other people that just, you know, they're projecting what you project outwards, man. You know, you get back, you know, so that's obviously where we were supposed to meet, man, and it's a super cool thing.
Yeah. All right, my bro. Well, you take care of that new little one that you have that's just arrived the last couple of days, and the other 4.
Yeah, man.
You got 5 now, don't you?
Yeah, brother. So I've got a 10, 8, 5, 3 tomorrow, and 2-week-old.
Living the dream, dude. All right. Well, I love you, bro. Take it easy, and I'll talk to you soon. All right.
Love you, man. See you, brother.
See you, man.